This is a 2022 Toyota RAV4 Prime XSE. And the Prime means that this is a plug-in hybrid Toyota RAV4. And that's kind of cool to have something that has all the space and easiness and convenience of a SUV, but up to 94 miles to the gallon equivalent with a full battery when you start. Pretty cool. Now, this is based on the 5th generation Toyota RAV4, which came out in 2019 model year, and the RAV4 Prime first came out in 2021, so last year. There are two trims of Toyota RAV4 Prime, the XE and this XSE, and this is the higher of the two trims, but there are many trims of Toyota RAV4 if you go to the standard gasoline engine and just hybrid, not plug-in hybrid models. And that means that there is a broad price difference between those cars as well. A base Toyota RAV4 starts at $27,730 and a base RAV4 hybrid is $30,290. A base RAV4 Prime, which is the plug-in hybrid, which is the SE, is $41,015, and the base price for the Toyota RAV4 Prime XSE, this one is $44,340. And finally, my test car had a lot of stuff added to it, so it is $50,731. Yeah, like I said, a big variation in price, but this is fully loaded. It has a big battery, which gives you all the fuel economy benefits, and it has a lot of nice luxurious stuff to it and all these kinds of other things. So before I get too far, I think the best thing to do is to show you around it inside the car. So here is a closer look at a 2022 Toyota RAV4 Prime, and this particular one is an XSE model with a two-tone paint job, and you've got Blueprint on the bottom and Midnight on top, and you can't really see from here because they kind of blend together, but here's a closer look at Blueprint, and then you can see this is a much darker tone up top, and that is Midnight. Also, if we look way up, you also get a panoramic moonroof, which is a first for the RAV4 right here, and of course these nice and robust roof rails as well. And if you have a hard time telling this apart from a non-plug-in hybrid RAV4, don't you worry, because you get evidence right here and here. Looking at the car from the front, it's got a pretty innocuous look to it. You know, you get this nice little blue around the Toyota emblem right here, and a tasteful looking grille in my opinion right here. And you do get this nice little polished metal effect down low, where this kind of mini lower bumper kind of look. I do like this little detail here with the fog light right here, and this kind of triangular shape that goes into it. And I think you've got some slick looking headlights right here. Looking at the car in profile, it maintains pretty standard looking two-box shape of a crossover SUV, and very similar to the non-plug-in hybrid RAV4s. But because this is an XE model, you get 19-inch wheels right here. If this were an SE RAV4 Prime, those would be 18-inch wheels. And because this is a plug-in hybrid, you have two gas caps, except you don't. This is your gas cap right here on the driver's side. And on the passenger side, you get your recharge portal right here. Looking at the car from the back, the standard two-box shape and look remains. However, you do get the RAV4 Prime logo that I showed you earlier, and dual exhaust tips, and you do get this nice little chrome extension around it, the real tips right there. It's a little goofy, but hey, I'll accept that as pretty reasonable considering the modern trend these days. And like I said, dual exhaust tips, one here and one here. Also, this particular Toyota happens to have this applique applied right here on the lower bumper, so you know it's a Toyota even when you're looking down. Let's take a look inside. You get a very healthy 33 cubic feet of cargo space if you have both the first and second rows up, and you also get an inverter, so AC power right there, and a cigarette light style charger right there, and of course little lights and things like that, and a privacy panel. But if you need more space, that's very simple. All you got to do is pull a couple of flaps, and remove the privacy panel. And now you have 63 cubic feet of storage space in your RAV4 Prime. Let's take a look in the back seats. Okay, pretty darn decent amount of room back here. And one thing to point out before I even sit down, this is an XSE with the premium package, which means we get heated rear seats, and they are on the door jambs right there. You also have this nice little kick plate thing right here, which is nice. I am 5'11" or 181 centimeters tall, and I've got, I would say, almost 6 inches of knee room and kind of so-so thigh support. My knees have just a little bit more than a 90-degree bend in them, so the seat bottoms are a little bit lower than ideal for me, but it's not bad, and it's reasonable width as well. I've got decent elbow room right here. Also, if you don't have 3 passengers, you do, of course, get cup holders and an armrest. Hey, hey. Also, looking up, if the privacy panel weren't closed, there is the panoramic moonroof. You can see that it goes almost all the way to the back of the second row. All right, let's check out the front. Nice RAV4 kick plate to look at right there. Some lovely floor mats right here. We do have, of course, power windows, power locks, side view mirror adjust right here. We do have 2-position seat memory right here, and you know, a perfectly lovely trim. I like this little red stitching detail to give you just a little bit of color into this otherwise very black space. Also, this little pocket is a handy place for pocket change or other things, so that's a nice little spot to have. And as you can see here, we've got lots of buttons and options here, including there's that AC power we were talking about and heated steering wheel. Very cool. Also, front view cameras, automatic headlights, lift gate option. This is adjusting the lightness for your instrument cluster, all those things. Of course, we have power seats. These are 8-way adjustable power seats with lumbar. Always nice to get the lumbar. You do get tilt and telescoping steering, and it is manually adjusted right there. And again, there's just a little bit extra in these seats right here. This nice little red stripe right here, and again, some more red stitching right here. This is called soft text synthetic leather material, and it feels comfortable and soft when you sit in it. We've got real gauges on either side of a 7-inch multi-information display screen right there for the instrument cluster. Of course, push button start. Because we have the $3,350 premium package as part of this car, we get many things, including a head-up display, which you can see right there. We've also got the JBL premium audio system right there. The steering wheel itself is a nice thick rim, which I like, and we have lots of controls for the information display right here, adaptive cruise control right here, and we also do have paddle shifters, upshift, downshift. This is a 9-inch center console touchscreen right here. That's part of the XSE trimmed RAV4 Primes. And because we have the premium audio system, it also has navigation. If you were to get an SE trimmed RAV4 Prime, this would be an 8-inch screen. Down here, we do have dual zone climate control. And again, because we have the premium package, we don't have just heated seats, we have ventilated seats as well. Also, we've got a wireless smartphone charger right there. And back here, another charger right here, and another USB port right there. Looking down further, fairly standard looking Prindle, and we have a lot of buttons here for drive modes and some other things, which I'll explain in a moment. We do have, of course, an electric parking brake. Nice and deep cup holders right here, and more storage in the lower center console, and 2 more USB charge ports down there. Looking up, you have the usual things here, lights, sunglasses case, and some adjustments for the panoramic moonroof right here. This one right here is what opens the privacy panel. And you can see just how big that piece of glass really is. Lovely. All right, drive modes. We have 4 drive modes here. Normal is your default, and you push this button to get to it. You turn the dial to the left to get to Eco, turn the dial to the right to get to Sport, and press this button down here to get Trail. Also, up here, these are modes for what hybrid system you're using. Do you want to be in hybrid mode or electric vehicle only mode? So if you press this one, you're in auto mode, and you let the Powertrain computer make the decisions on whether to be hybrid or EV. So this button actually does a lot of things. With this button, you can say, I only want you to be in EV mode, or I only want you to be in hybrid mode. So I'm in EV mode right now, but if I press a button, now I'm only in hybrid mode. And if I hold it down, Now I'm in charge mode. That means not only will I only drive in hybrid mode and not be EV, but I'll actually use some of the engine power to recharge the battery. So if you want to have a charged battery pack for later on in your drive, you can have the car charge the battery as you drive. That's a nice touch. All right, speaking of driving, let's get back to the drive. Okay, because this is the Toyota RAV4 Prime, it's got more than 300 horsepower. That's right. This compact crossover SUV that is a plug-in hybrid has 302 combined system horsepower. Now that comes from 3 different sources. There is the main 177 horsepower, 2.5 liter Atkinson cycle engine that is in front. That makes 177 horsepower and 165 pound-feet of torque. But there are also 2 electric motors, and the one up front actually makes more horsepower, 179 horsepower, but it makes it at different RPMs. And then there's another one mounted in back that has 53 horsepower, which is what gives you a drive shaft free all-wheel drive system. So you've got up to 53 horsepower for the back axle, for the rear axle. And again, it's the different RPM levels that these things make their peak horsepower, and that's why you can't just add the 3 numbers together. But again, 302 for a compact crossover SUV is pretty darn good. The battery pack is a lithium-ion system, 18.1 kilowatt hours, which is healthy, and according to Toyota, it is mounted underneath the floor of the car, so it has no effect on space inside the RAV4 itself. According to Toyota, if you start with a full battery pack and you take it easy while you drive, you'll get 42 miles of electric-only driving out of the battery pack alone. That is a big, healthy number, and that is what allows the mile per gallon equivalent to be over 94 miles per gallon equivalent. As far as the transmission is concerned, Toyota calls it an ECVT, or an electronically controlled continuously variable transmission. That's kind of not really what it is. It's basically an elaborate system that uses the different electric motors and clutch packs and things like that to essentially not have a transmission, but for simplicity's sake, Toyota just calls it an electronically controlled continuously variable transmission, which in practical terms, is pretty much how it works, so that kind of makes sense. Though in reality, there's not 2 cone-shaped things and a belt in between to select different gear ratios and all those things. And to that end, as I showed you, we do have paddle shifters on this Toyota, but they don't shift any gears. What that does is affect how much brake-based battery charge you get from deceleration, from the motor spinning up and charging the battery. So the lower number you see, D4, D3, D2, that increases the amount of deceleration you get just from lifting off the throttle. But let's get back to the more fun stuff. You've got 83 more horsepower than a Toyota RAV4 hybrid, and you've got 99 more horsepower than a Toyota RAV4 standard gasoline engine. And that means that you can accelerate pretty darn quickly. Let me show you. All right, everybody, time for an acceleration test. I do have the car in sport driving mode, and I also have the traction control off. Just came to a complete stop. Give it some brake torque. And off we go. Oh, wow. That is more than I expected. I'm getting leaned way back here. Man, wow. Man, we're getting some good pace here. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. A plug-in hybrid from Toyota that goes 0 to 60 in 5.7 seconds. Now that is really something. Unexpected, pleasantly surprised. 0 to 60 in 5.7 seconds in a compact crossover from Toyota. But yes, this is a plug-in hybrid, so probably more important to most people isn't how quickly this thing accelerates, but how good it is with fuel economy. According to the EPA, as I said, 94 miles to the gallon fuel economy equivalent, MPGe, if you start with a full battery. And if you have no battery charge at all, it is 40 miles to the gallon in the city, 36 on the highway, 38 combined. Now, back to the old driving enthusiast curmudgeon in me, it was time to see how well this big old heavy thing can handle. Let me show you that right now. All right, everybody, time for a handling test in a plug-in hybrid SUV from Toyota. I've got the car in sport mode and I've got the stability control off. We'll see what happens. Oh man, you've got good pickup from these electric motors. Wow. Wow, and wow, lots of torque down low because of those electric motors as well. Better body control than I expected. Not tons of grip. Didn't expect much though. Yeah, oh, there's a big pothole at the edge of the road we had to avoid. But yeah, so we're getting some body roll and we're getting a fair amount of understeer, but the body's reasonably well behaved considering everything. You know, we do have a very low center of gravity because of the big A battery pack, the 18.1 kilowatt hour battery pack. So that helps. And yeah, I mean, my expectations were low, but that's a little bit better than expected, I have to say. All right, let's do that just one more time. All right, with a little bit more driving, we can in fact feel a fair amount of understeer and a darn decent amount of body roll as well. But I think because my expectations were low, because this was a RAV4 and it was a plug-in hybrid RAV4 at that, and I got more than I expected, I have to be honest. You know, it's aided definitely by a good all-wheel drive system and lots of torque low end from these electric motors. So you get plenty of punch coming out of the corners. And that actually forced some discipline because I have so much torque down low. You have to be careful with it, otherwise you'll overwhelm the tires. Anyway, this is not a car for fun. This is a car to get good fuel economy, but it's good to know that it is competent in the corners and can get the job done. Would I say it's fun? No. But it is more capable than I expected. You know, considering everything, especially with the specs we have on paper, it really was not bad. Obviously, this is not the enthusiast choice, but it's good to know that it's at least competent at what it does. And now let's step back into the more consumer-based things, and I also took a ride on the interstate just to see how that felt. Let me show you that right now. All right, everybody, time for a quick drive on the interstate. I've got the car in normal mode. It's in auto EV HV mode, so electric vehicle, hybrid vehicle mode. I'll let the computer choose that. As I drive on the on-ramp, we are in EV mode, and the EV battery is less than half full now, so I wonder if that'll play a role as well. This does have Toyota Safety Sense 2.0, and that includes, you know, a nice swath of things. So we'll see how that works, and we'll also take a look at wind noise and road noise. We have plenty of acceleration to get up to speed. That's no problem at all. Okay, adaptive cruise control is set. So I will say right off the bat, you do hear a decent amount of wind noise. There is more than I expected from this RAV4. It's louder than the best compact SUVs out there, certainly. The ride, on the other hand, is quite nice. This is a very pleasant, comfortable ride. And this is a good time to highlight the Softex seats. You know, they were reasonably supportive when I did the handling test, and they're quite comfortable for the interstate. The lumbar support helps a lot. It's a good material. I have the ventilated seats on a little bit, so I'm very pleasant in that regard. Also, I am now in hybrid vehicle mode. The powertrain's fantastic. Very smooth, very quiet, very much in the background, you know, and that might be one of the reasons why we're hearing more wind noises, because we hear so little of the engine. Right now, the electric motors are doing the vast majority of the work, and they work very quietly. Road noise is also quite good. Better than expected, in fact. So really, it's just wind noise that's just a little bit higher than I expected. Overall, this is a very comfortable, competent vehicle on the interstate. It feels totally solid underneath me. It's just a little bit loud for wind noise. Continuing on with our consumer concern theme, I'm sure that safety is a high priority for a lot of different people, and yes, this does have a lot of driving assist systems. This has what Toyota calls Toyota Safety Sense 2.0, which is a big battery of driving assist systems, and because this is a RAV4 Prime XSE with the premium package, I actually have even more than that installed on this car. So it's a big long list. I've got that up on the screen right now so you can see everything you get. You know, it's fairly standard list, but probably a bit more on the robust side compared to some. So what do we have in this Toyota RAV4 Prime XSE? Well, we have a completely useful and comfortable SUV, very easy access to 63 cubic feet of storage if you don't have any passengers in back, and still 33 cubic feet of storage even if you do. Those are nice, big, healthy numbers. You have excellent fuel economy if you start with a full battery pack, and you have a bigger battery pack than most. 18.1 kilowatt hours is usually we see under 15, not much more than 10 in a lot of different companies. The rubber meets the road at 42 miles of driving electricity only. Those are solid numbers. But despite being an XSE and not an XLE, we don't have much sport here. We do not have much driver engagement, and we do have a lot of body roll and a lot of understeer and those types of things. So this is not the most engaging drive or driver enthusiast friendly compact SUV you can get. But it is actually the most engaging drive that I can think of that also gets 94 miles to the gallon equivalent. So if you really want to be miserly with fuel, this is something to consider, I guess. I'm Robin Warner. Thank you for watching. And if you are still watching, I would really appreciate it if you like this video and subscribe to my channel. Those things really do help me out quite a lot. Okay, goodbye. 302 horsepower.